Welcome to Real Talk, Real Wellness with Alicia. I'm Alicia, a women's holistic wellness practitioner, and this is where we get real about what it truly takes to feel well mentally, physically, and emotionally. Let's get into it. Today, we're back with the Wellness Seat, the part of the podcast where I sit down with people working within the wellness space and those with meaningful and interesting wellness journeys to share their real stories, lived experiences, and insights. I'm really pleased to welcome Sarah Kay to the Wellness Seat. Sarah, can you share a little bit about who you are, the work you do, and what your practice currently looks like?
Sure. Hi there. Yep. So I'm Sarah Kay, and I'm an integrative counsellor. And I have been doing work with people now for all different ages, which I'll go into for over 14 years now. It'll be my 15th year this year. So I work with children, little children, through play. So when I first qualified many years ago, I qualified to work with children who were traumatized through play and the arts. So arts therapy is my kind of basis. So I started off working with little children. I was a youth worker before that for many years as well. And then I went on to work with adults, and I opened up my private practice. And then I also now work with groups of women as well. So I do all three things. As I forgot to mention, I also sit on a foster care panel for prospective foster parents as well. Yeah, so that's me.
Wow, that's a lot.
It
A
is.
lot of good work going on there. Okay, so you've worked in the therapeutic setting for over 14 years across adults, children, and families. What originally drew you into this work, and what kept you committed to it over time?
Yeah, so I'm actually an adopted adult. So I was adopted when I was 1 year old.
Mm,
And I have always been a person that has been kind of, I guess, kind of working on myself, even though it sounds strange to say working on yourself when you're a child. But I think if you are a person that's been adopted or in long-term foster care, you'll kind of know that it starts you off on a journey of trying to work out who you are, maybe a little bit earlier than a birth child of someone.
right, right.
And as I got older, I was always the person at the party that people will come up to and talk about their lives and their problems with, even when I was quite young.
Mm.
And that kind of went on, and I just kind of I thought, well, okay, I must be a person that's just, I guess, good with people that have,
Approachable.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I have all sorts of people come up to me, or random people and stuff, and I just thought, okay, well, I was really always interested in other people's journeys, and I found it really inspirational talking to people about their lives. I find people really interesting. Um, so anyway, I went on to actually become an estate agent, funnily enough, in when I was living in London for I had my daughter, and that was where I was, good with people again, and it
Mm,
worked well. But
mm,
it didn't really light me up. It didn't really light my soul up. So I then ended up going to do some work abroad, one of those Camp America kind of things. And when I was over there, I was working with children, and I thought, wow, this really speaks to my soul, working with
mm.
children. This is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, the rest was history. The rest was absolute history. How I got into working with children. I used to work at kids company, and that's a whole other story. But yeah, I knew when I started working with children, I was doing my soul's work. Um,
Right.
and what kept me in it has just been, I think, being me. I don't see it as, oh my God, I've got to go to work or something. I've never seen that in it since I've had my private practice.
Mhm.
I just feel like it's just something I do. It's just
Right.
part of me. It's part of who I am. And so I know that I'm going to be working, helping people probably for the rest of my life. So yeah, that's what keeps me in it.
I definitely can relate to that. I call it my passion work.
Definitely.
Passion work.
Yes, it is.
And a lot of your work also sort of supports women who are holding a great deal of emotional, um, often while caring for others,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with a lot emotionally, sorry. often while caring for others. From your experience, what do you see women struggling with um, most quietly?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I feel that women struggle most quietly with taking up time for themselves. I feel like a lot of the women that I speak to therapeutically, they really are often the nurturers in a family. They're often people that are looking after everybody else, getting everybody else's needs met. And I find more often those women aren't taking time for themselves. So I think that's something that a lot of women do suffer with quietly. I know I've done that as well. I've
Yeah.
just always been giving everybody everything, and everybody
Mm.
else is okay. But how about the women? How are they
Yeah.
actually feeling? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
And how are we nurturing each other?
exactly. So important. And I think that's what we suffer with a lot of not giving ourselves space and time for ourselves.
Yeah. The carer needs to be cared for.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so you work creatively with children through play and arts. What do you think adults, especially women, can learn from the way children process emotions and experiences?
I think they can really learn to be free and play. And it's
Mm.
what I mean by that. I mean, there's literal play, but I remember when I was training as a counselor many years ago, when I first went into the uni on our kind of day of assessment day, they had these kids' plastic toy kitchens, and part of the assessment was, right, can you actually go over there and play with that toy kitchen? And a lot of people said, oh my gosh, I can't do that. And those people didn't get on the course. And I, went over there and I played with the toy kitchen, and they kind of said that if unless you can play at ground level with a toy kitchen, you can't work with children, because you have to have that part.
Mm.
So in order to answer your question, I think that part kind of gets missed. I feel that kind of free part that women need, that playful part, that joyful part, that I don't know, that childlike part. I guess
Yeah.
that's what's missing sometimes with a lot of people.
Yeah. Is it connecting with your inner child in a way
Yes.
that's still there?
That's right. It is. It's connecting with the inner child. But the
Mm.
thing about people's inner child, when I do a lot of work with people's inner child, the child, depending on how you've been brought up by your family, your inner child can be very different. So in
Right.
therapy, we call it, well, one of the therapeutic models is transactional analysis. So if my
Mm.
parents are very strict, my inner child may not be free and joyful. It may be quite reserved and adaptive,
Right.
you see. So but it's very healthy to have that free, we call it free child part, that joyful part, that playful part, because if you don't have that, it can make life very rigid, and a lot of people don't have that, you know. So
Right. Yeah. That
yeah,
makes sense. Mm. It's about, excuse me, it's about perspective, what the inner child might look like and how you work with that, right? Is
that's right.
that what
Yeah,
I'm saying? What I'm
right.
hearing?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Interesting. I like that. You run a therapeutic group or therapeutic groups for women around obesity,
Mm,
and GLP-1, um, and bariatric surgery,
yes.
areas that can carry a lot of shame
Mm.
and judgment. What do women, sorry, most need in these spaces, that they often may not receive elsewhere?
Yes. So women that come to these groups, they often come in feeling very ashamed, as you said, and
Mm.
they often feel like it's not going to help. They've tried everything, every diet going, and part of the group is to kind of have a look at all the different diets you can think of, and you'd be amazed when you sit down to all the different things we remember.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not helpful for people. And what people need and what people access from these groups is it's a space to come together as women, and it's a space for kind of to share who they are as people, and
Mm.
together we heal, together we heal. um and I think
What feeds some of, sorry to, I don't
no,
mean
go
to
on,
cut you, Sarah,
that's
but
fine.
what feeds some of the shame around taking GLP-1s and having bariatric surgery?
Yeah, so I think it's getting better now, actually. But I think
Mm,
when it all these kind of GLP-1s came out, a
mm,
lot of people felt that they were quote unquote cheating. And a lot of clients say to me, I'd like to take this, but I feel like I'm cheating. When we
mm.
actually look at that
Yeah,
deeper level, it's either something someone said to them once, you need to sweat and toil and go to the gym and all this kind of jazz. But the
mm,
thing often with my client group, those ladies, is that they've done all that stuff. They've been to the gym, they've done this, they've done that, and actually
mm.
it can get quite toxic. And if they just had to go to the gym and just
Yeah,
eat a bit healthier, they'd have done that. And these
right.
women often are 30 plus. It's not as easy when you're older to shed
No,
that weight.
yeah,
Most people have been down that road before. They may have had children or may not have, but yeah, it's I'm not dealing with 21-year-olds,
no,
so they need a different approach. And why not? Why not give them that freedom to live their lives, whether it be through the GLP-1 or the bariatric surgery? If it gives them freedom to live, I say why not do it, you know?
yeah. So do you sort of sit with them and talk with them from a holistic perspective? So, okay, so you're supporting them with through taking these weight loss, weight management drugs and the surgery, but do you sort of sit with them and discuss lifestyle changes and
Yes. So yes. And the thing is, and I think I see this a lot on social media,
mm,
is people saying when they come off the GLP-1, they're going to gain all the weight back again. The thing is, right,
mm,
in order to keep weight off, you've
right,
got to know you've got to know understand your relationship with food. And your relationship with food will be about the way that you were brought up and your family story, traumas, how your family viewed food, your relationship with your parents, how you deal with stress. All that stuff needs to be looked at. So when I work with women, both one to one, because I also do one to one work with people in this kind of journey,
mm-hmm,
we really understand about their relationship with food as a child. That's where the work's got to start. And so when you understand your relationship with food as a child and the kind of subconscious messages you've been told by your parents, how they view food, their situation at the time with regarding meals, all this kind of stuff. If sometimes people were shamed around food,
mm,
sometimes mum and dad didn't have enough money for enough food, sometimes they were given rubbish to eat because there was nothing else. All that stuff comes into play, you know.
yeah, emotional, the
That's
emotional
right.
connection with food and the
Definitely.
reward.
Yeah. Sometimes we were
Yeah,
pacified. Sometimes people were like, it's okay, don't cry. Here's cake.
is cake.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So it's all
yeah.
that stuff kind of gets put into your subconscious.
So you have a
Yeah.
whole person approach to dealing with this. I won't call it an issue, but there's some of the difficulties around weight and weight loss. Okay, I like that. I like the holistic perspective. I think I've had many conversations on, the semi-glutides and things like that, but um my perspective is definitely look at this as a holistic, whole person, whole woman journey, not just, okay, now I'm on these weight management drugs. That's the answer
Mm-hmm.
to it all.
Yes.
Like you said, it just can't be. It's we're multifaceted beings, and everything has a knock-on effect. What we think, what we feel, how we interact with people, what we're doing in our daily lives, all of that has a massive impact on what we are, how we present, what other people are looking at, what we're experiencing has so many different layers to it. So I think to just tackle it in one way would be very limiting and very unnatural in a
Yeah.
way. So I'm really behind you with the let's look at everything.
Mm.
Let's look at you.
Mm.
Let's look at where you're coming from. Let's look at where you want to go. Let's look at what you're interacting with on a day-to-day basis. Let's look at how you think about yourself. I like that a lot. Um, so many women are curious about therapy,
Mm-hmm.
but unsure whether it's right for them. For From your perspective, what do you wish more women understood about what therapy actually looks like in real life.
Yeah. So a lot of people are kind of, I guess, again, it's kind of, I think there's two things. I think there's people around the person could put
Mm,
people off having sessions. And
mm,
then there's also for their own views. And then there's also the person that may be scared or worried that, what they're bringing may make them feel vulnerable. And therapy is vulnerable. And I think I would just recommend to anyone out there thinking about starting it, first things first is you've got to find the right counselor or therapist for what you need. So the person doesn't have to be a doctor of psychology, or that be a psychologist, but the person doesn't have to be a doctor of psychotherapy, right?
right.
The person can be a counselor that's done the job for like 20 years. They can
Yeah.
be. It's about getting the right person. That's what it's about. And thinking what you need. And I think knowing that if you find the right person, okay, whatever's brought up in your sessions, your feelings are not going to destroy you, right? Your feelings, I know people get very scared, but your feelings, and a good counselor or therapist will be able to therapeutically hold you, quote unquote, in your sessions.
Yeah.
And I just wish more people would understand that by doing this, by doing good therapy or counseling, you can get out of these horrible loops in your head that you have. And I don't know another way of getting out of it unless you have awareness of why you loop. So yeah, I just wish more people would know that a good therapist or counselor can really support you and enrich your life. And you can share your thoughts and feelings if you feel like the sessions are too difficult, if you feel like this, that you don't want to talk about this, that's fine. That is
Mm.
fine. It's not, you don't have to talk about every single thing you don't want to talk about. It's always up to the client. So yeah.
Yeah. So you being a therapist, do you make sure that you have your own therapists available to you?
For me,
Yeah.
yes. When I was
Yeah.
training, I had to have 4 years of therapy
Yeah.
alongside my own supervision. So I've dealt with so much of my own stuff. And full disclosure, I still deal with my own stuff now. I think,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Mm.
I think it's a
We all do.
lifelong journey.
Mm.
Exactly. And I think the only difference between, I would say, a new client starting and myself
Mm.
is the fact that I know my own, I hate saying demons, that word, but you know what I mean? I know
Mm.
my own stuff
Mm.
and I can sit with it and I know it and it doesn't knock me over like a washing line. I know
Yeah.
it well, you know?
What would you say to someone who thought about the idea of having therapy, but was hesitant because of some of the stigma maybe attached to doing that? What would you say to that person if they're listening now? What are your words to that person?
Yeah. So I would say to that person, I totally understand the nervousness about this. I totally understand the unsureness about it. Um, I would say any good therapist or counselor is going to be able to offer maybe, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour free session before you definitely decide you want to, go with them or not. And that will give you a little bit of taster about how that person works. And I think that not you a person, if they're nervous, doesn't have to tell friends and family they're having sessions if they
Mm,
decide to go ahead. I don't think everyone needs to know everything in life.
absolutely.
It's not hurting anyone. You're not putting anyone at risk by having your
Mm,
sessions. So maybe if I was in their shoes, I'd probably have my sessions or see somebody if I like them. Maybe you say, okay, I'd like to book maybe 5 sessions in. And then if I wanted to continue, I could. And yeah, it's your journey. You don't have to tell everybody. You don't have to
mm,
tell anyone, actually. It's up to
yeah,
you.
definitely agreed. Well, it's been lovely. This has been it's been insightful. Is there anything else you would like to share with the audience before you go?
Yeah, I think the only other thing I'd like to share is about people finding moments of joy. So this is something
Mm,
I speak to a lot of my friends, my family, and my clients.
hmm.
Is we're not here on this earth for forever here. And I think if anyone's ever having any doubts worries about other people in life, I would just say bring it back to yourself and find moments of joy in your own life.
Mm.
It can be talking to friends on a WhatsApp message, and going out for a coffee. It can be when I go to the gym, instead of the treadmill, I might have a steam and sauna one day, you know?
Yeah.
It's all that kind of stuff, spending quality time with my daughter, and also maybe limiting time with certain family members that drain me. It's all that stuff's important because it's about your life, and I just want people to kind of remember that this is your life, this is your experience, and you shouldn't have to live your life for somebody else's happiness. Bring it back to yourself and find those moments of joy.
Joy. That's a big thing right now for me. Joy. I think as women, I think just in general, people tend to not focus on the joy aspect so much as being part of a wellness journey. So for me, with my clients, that is a pillar for me. That is now become a pillar of wellness, really being intentional with your joy. Because I think there's a lot of we understand the discipline around, going to the gym, moving, eating, having a nutritious nutritionally dense diet. We understand all those, the things, the stuff. But when it comes to joy, there seems to be it seems to be a little bit of a sticky area, and understanding that this is part of this process.
Yes, it is a sticky area. I think a lot of people don't like to see other people having moments of joy. And I don't know why that is, but they don't seem to want to often.
That's interesting. And I think sometimes, I think as women, going back to what you were saying earlier on, being the carer, the nurturer, the looking after other people, the caregiver.
Yes.
Sometimes I think because we are sort of programmed into that, taking on that role, that we forget that, well, what we need to do also is be fed ourselves, and we also have to make sure that we are feeling good about who we are, experiencing joy in order to take on that role as caregiver, mother, whatever it is that you're doing in that caregiving role.
Yes.
And I just find that a lot of women are not firm on that. They seem to be firm on other areas, but when it comes to their joy, when I say, okay, so what are you doing today to bring you some joy? Pause.
That's right. That's right. That's right. It's one of the things I asked my clients. I said, what makes you happy? A lot of people are stumped with that one, actually.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? What's behind that, do you think?
I think it probably goes back to people again not prioritizing themselves and filling up their own cup at all. Their cup's probably run dry at this point, but yeah, I think it's about forgetting oneself and actually thinking, you know what, I'm not quite sure what makes me happy anymore. And you can get lost in motherhood, you can get lost in partnership, you can get lost in work, and we've all been there in one way or another, I think. But it's just, I think sometimes people generally don't actually know what makes them happy anymore because they're too busy serving others.
Too busy serving others. Do you think we are wired to be that way as women?
Yeah, I think I think we have to be, otherwise the human race would have died out. So we are wired to be that way, but it's also about, okay, I guess for myself, I am the best mother I can be because I actually prioritize myself. Therefore, I can prioritize my daughter's needs more. I've done the burnt out thing, knackered and burnt out. I've done all that. That's not helpful.
Yeah.
I know when to stop and actually pour into myself and bring back those moments of joy.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for people just to pause and think, actually, you know what do I like to do? What makes me happy?
Yeah.
And if you're worrying about, think about, I don't actually know, bring it back to when you were a child. Have a think about what made you happy then.
I like that. Okay, before you go, again, before you go, what words of wisdom would you leave with the ladies listening today? Just anything.
Sure.
Words of wisdom. Couple of sentences,
Yeah.
a word.
I would say, don't forget yourself. Don't let life engulf you to the point where you've forgotten yourself. Remember, you matter, and prioritize yourself.
Great. Thank you so much for joining me today, Sarah. It has been a pleasure. Now, as usual, I have some journal prompts for you all today. Let's have a look. Okay, so number one, what am I currently holding emotionally that I haven't given myself space to acknowledge? Number two, where in my life am I supporting others but not receiving the same level of support myself? Number three, what would feeling emotionally supported look like for me right now? And number four, what is one small step I could take towards caring for my emotional well-being? Yeah, that was that four? Yeah, four. I always get confused around my prompts. I've got the prompts written down and I'm like, is that number one or number two as I'm reading them out? Anyway, thank you, Sarah, for joining me today. It has been thought provoking, what you've shared with us today. And everybody, thank you so much for joining me on the Wellness Seats, a real talk, real wellness with Alicia segment. If today's conversation resonates with you, please share with someone. And until the next episode, oneness, wholeness, peace.